Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original presented by Perplexity. My name is Bomani Jones. Thank you for checking us out on YouTube. This is a YouTube exclusive. Also, check out later today. Today being Wednesday, we've got an episode with Spencer Hall where we are talking about Donald Trump say he gonna fix NIL plus Bill Belichick and a tangent about Ghostface Killer. But anyway, for right now, we are jumping on here on this day because the Cowboys went and did something real cowboy. COWBOY-Y. Cowboy. Yeah, that's how we're going to say it. Anyway, according to Adam Schefter, they are in the process of making a trade for George Pickens. The Cowboys get a third-round pick in 2026 and a fifth-round pick in 2027 for the Steelers. The Steelers get George Pickens off of their team. Now, how did we not have a prop bet set up or like some kind of pool for you to bet on what date exactly the Cowboys were going to trade for George Pickens or figure out some way to get George Pickens? Because this is absolutely a Cowboy type of move. Number one, George Pickens is very, very talented. Like, I feel like I need to start by pointing that out. George Pickens is really, really talented. If all I did was show you clips of George Pickens, there are times where it looks like he is floating through the air on something like the Matrix type of shit, right? The level of talent that he has can't be ignored. He was a 5-star recruit going into Georgia, okay? Now, what you think about something, though. He's a 5-star recruit, went to Georgia. He is from Hoover, Alabama. And as far as I can tell, Nick Saban did not make him an offer. I'm assuming there was a reason. Okay. Number two, as talented as Pickens was, he was not a first-round pick out of Georgia. And now the Cowboys were able to get him for a 3 this year and a 5 next year. Now, why could you get somebody that talented who, by the way, in the last, let me make sure I get this right. My guy Ryan sent me this statistic. Per Dan Orlovsky, of receivers with 2,000 receiving yards in the last 3 years, the highest yards per catch is George Pickens. Yet the Cowboys were able to get him for a 3 this year and a 5 next year. The answer why is very simple. Something wrong with that boy. I don't know what exactly it is that is wrong with him, but something wrong with that boy. You have seen the plays where George Pickens is running a route, it's an interception on the route, and instead of trying to tackle the person who has the ball, George Pickens is trying to fight the person who had been covering him. Why? Because something wrong with that boy. I'm not saying like it's clinical. I'm not saying it's got a diagnosis. I'm just saying something ain't right. You be watching him play and you be like, hey, man, I don't know what's going on here. Something ain't right. Okay? And so the Steelers decided to send him to the Cowboys. So what the Cowboys did was a very Jerry Jones sort of move. You can never forget, Jerry Jones made his money by driving off in the middle of nowhere, digging a hole in the ground, and hoping that oil popped up. That's how he got to be a person whose name we know. He will go out there and dig a hole in the ground and oil will pop up. Now, George Pickens, he knows there's oil in that hole. He is aware that there is oil there. There's also some other stuff, like landmines. You know what I mean? But Jerry is like, but if we can get that sweet oil without hitting one of those landmines, we could cash in. That's why this plot of land was so cheap. They know it's got oil in it, but they tired of getting blowed up. Now, Jerry loved getting blowed up, or at the very least, the excitement that comes from the chance of getting blowed up. Now, look, we have made these arguments about the Cowboys, by the way, and this is where we got to be fair to Jerry, okay? We had said these things about Jerry and the team that they had not done enough to add like weapons to what it was that they were doing. They drafted an interior offensive lineman with the number 12 pick. They just got a weapon. Like, you tell me you got CeeDee Lamb at one receiver, you tell me you got George Pickens at the other. There's not a lot of teams that are going to be doing better than you with 1-2. Like the Bengals immediately jumped to mind with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But, I mean, this is a contest, right? These guys are really good. And it's hard to ignore the fact that it feels like all Jerry cared about is the fact that something ridiculous is going to happen. You feel me? Because if nothing else, the Cowboys are never boring. They are usually pretty good, often very good, occasionally mediocre, never boring. Playing for the Steelers, America gets to watch you do a lot of whatever it is that you do. Playing for the Cowboys, America get to see all of it. And America is about to get an introduction to the George Pickens experience. Here we go. Now, Ryan, I have not had the opportunity to talk to you about the Cowboys since we started doing this show together. I don't know. You being from Louisiana, are you a Cowboys fan or are you a paper bag boy?
I am a Saints fan, yes.
Oh, damn. I can't believe we let one of those through.
Nobody's perfect, right?
That's it. But the Cowboys, that's still, though, like growing up in South Louisiana, the Cowboys are still like a big part of life. Like you have been seriously exposed to Cowboy life.
As soon as you get north of Alexandria, you are in Cowboy territory for sure.
Yes. And this look, I do think the Cowboys got better. Like I can't knock them on that. If you could take the chance on George Pickens at a 3, I don't knock them on this. Like, I do think often Jerry makes moves that don't necessarily make them better, but just simply make them interesting. I feel pretty confident that he made them better by making this trade.
Correct. And if you watch a team that's like, struggled to run the ball, bringing in a new coach, you're paying $60 million for your quarterback. You're going to have to throw the ball, 35, 40 times a game. You've got to give Dak Prescott all the weapons he can. And it's being reported that they've been in the wide receiver market for a while and, trying to get after George Pickens. And it really just makes sense for both sides. The most interesting part about this for me is not really the Cowboys. It's Mike Tomlin saying goodbye, who's been running the island of misfit receivers for now 2 decades.
Yes.
Not saying that George Pickens is Antonio Brown, the player, or, the crazy person, but, as long as Tomlin put up with Antonio Brown, he's saying bye-bye to Pickens.
I mean, it's almost like the island of misfit receivers for like 25 years. They had Plexico Burress for a little while, and that was before he was shooting himself. You know what I'm saying? But you can't forget that guy. Can you imagine if that had happened in Twitter world? Like in our Twitter life, it happened just before.
Yeah.
Before.
Shooting himself in a club in New York City.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, off the Giants Super Bowl, right? Because that was what, 2008?
It was 2008. And they were the best team in the league up until that point.
Yeah.
Like everything flipped. But I have a question generally, not throwing it at you directly, but generally, because you said it makes sense for both teams. It makes sense for the Steelers, but I don't know if it was a good idea, right? The 2 quarterbacks that they had last year are gone. Their number 1 receiver from last year is gone. Their number 1 running back from last year is gone. Quarterback and running back, it is fair to ask the question of how good they were at those positions. They definitely needed to do something else. But at quarterback, they have not improved. They are not there. And if the story has been that they're just waiting on Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I think we all know the way the game go, baby. The longer he waits, the less likely it is that he's showing up. And it gets a lot less likely if George Pickens is going to be there. Now, look, maybe Mike Tomlin made the decision like, hey, bro, I can't be out here putting up with no Aaron Rodgers and no George Pickens at the same time. Maybe that was it.
DJ Metcalf is not exactly, he is Mr. Well-behaved either.
You know what, though? But he is very good receiver, right?
Yes,
I have to remember that part. They made the trade and they got Metcalf. So it is fair to say that they improved at wide receiver 1. But still, what are we doing outside of this? Who's going to throw the ball here? And what exactly is the Mike Tomlin job security? Because I'm 44 years old. The Steelers have had 3 coaches in my life. My older sister is 10 years older than me. The Steelers have had 3 coaches in her life. She has no idea of this factoid, just to be clear. But they've had 3 coaches since 1969.
I think Mike Tomlin, now that Greg Popovich retired, is the longest tenured coach in all 4 American sports.
Yeah, I think you're right. That checks out. The question, of course, is for how long? Right? Like, how long is he there? And my thought is this. The willingness to make a trade like this is what you do when you have job security. Like, this is, you guys haven't figured out the quarterback thing. You don't have the receiver, like the number 2 guy, or you give Pickens away. You haven't won a playoff game since the Obama administration. this implies you must have job security. Now, the question for me, and this is tricky, I don't know how much power Tomlin has on personnel, right? Like, I don't know. I think they made that move to draft Kenny Pickett that year. And that was a bad decision. If a quarterback is still there in the 20s, you just need to wait. I think that you can go look, right? By and large, that's what it's going to be. If you're going to take him in the 20s, this is probably not going to work out, okay? But they got off of that one pretty quick. They still don't have a quarterback. I don't see how they're supposed to win games.
Their two options are the artist formerly known as Aaron Rodgers,
yes,
or Mason Rudolph.
Still around. Can't believe he's still around. Yes, somehow. Well, you remember that time he got hit in the head with a helmet?
Yep.
I think they feel bad. You know what I'm saying? They like every now and then, hey, Mason, what's going on? Head hurts a little bit. You know how it is. Damn. All right. Yeah. You good. And look, to be fair to Mason Rudolph, maybe he's gotten better in the time we haven't seen him. We've seen this happen with Geno Smith is good now, right? Maybe. I don't know, but I do know it's going to get noisy around the Steelers if they don't figure something out. And it's the question of, well, is TJ Watt going to want to stay there if they keep backing up that truck? You remember when Myles Garrett was like, I don't want to play here no more. And then it was boop, boop, boop. They backed up that truck. And he was like, well, I do have season tickets for the Browns. With the Cavs, I would hate to part with my tickets. And so they stuck around. But the Steelers got worse.
Yeah, and speaking of backing up that track, going back to the Cowboys, they got to pay Micah. Speaking of, people who want to get paid as much as Myles Garrett. And also, George Pickens is going to want a big contract too.
Yeah.
So the Cowboys are going to have that all around them for the next few months going into this next season.
Yeah. I do think this, though. Once you trade a guy, so like Pickens, you get him for a trade, he understands he's got to go do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's going to be this is not a Jimmy Butler's. Like, once you trade for Jimmy Butler, okay, he might play for the contract, right? However, if you got Jimmy Butler and he ain't got the contract, you have problems.
No one's going to have a good time at work.
Yeah, you're right. That is exactly it. No one was going to have a good time with George Pickens in Pittsburgh. I think, and Jerry likes the idea of putting guys on show and prove. So he's on show and prove, but you're right. Micah Parsons still needs to get his money. And what makes it so ridiculous, and we've talked about this before, is that Micah Parsons is going to get his money, but maybe Jerry Jones is the old man with a heart of gold, and he just wants to make sure that Micah gets every dime he possibly can, because he just be letting these dudes drive his value up as high as it'll possibly go. He does this every single time. This is what's going to happen. But what's going to happen with the Cowboys? They're going to be better. They're probably not going to be good enough. What's going to happen with the Steelers? They're probably just not going to be good enough for the fans, but probably good enough for Mike Tomlin to keep his job. All right, check us out on The Right Time right here on YouTube 3 times a week, wherever you get your podcasts.